Hello, and with this cup of coffee, I would like to congratulate you with 2026 season. I hope it is very nice. It kicked off in a very, very positive note, and I know that January historically is a very busy month. But on the other hand, I know that very difficult feelings when you still kinda in that holiday season mode. So that's why don't allow January to shadow your happiness. So let's get started. And today I would like to discuss with you guys a very interesting topic, and it's a little bit personal, not a little bit, quite a lot. So, how I became the Big Four consultant, and why did I leave, and how you can get that job. And just as a disclaimer, I am not the career consultant here. So I'm just sharing my perspective, and it's up to you to get this advice or just leave it. So let's start from my, let's say, little biography. So I was working as an auditor back in 2008. It was a very long time ago in Deloitte. And then in 2020, I came back. It was a kind of comeback to Deloitte, but already in the risk advisory, in a consulting. And among these years, let's say between this the 2008 and 2020, of course, during that period, I have been working for many different industries, and I was a very applicable and practical guy. So, of course, maybe I would not tell you the tips how to get the work if you are a newcomer, if you don't have any previous background in the corporate world or in the consulting, audit elsewhere. But maybe it also would give you a little bit understanding what it is about. So I have some notes that I've written down. So I'm old school. Yes. So let me start with the certifications. I have them a lot. But in my personal opinion, certificates are very, very good for your portfolio. They're very, very sharp for your CV. They prove that you can learn, you can pass exams, you are focused, goal oriented. In Big Four, especially in here in Scandinavia, and I know that across the globe, the Big Four does not really fully appreciate the certificates. So it's not like a ticket that if you get some international recognized certificates, as I do have, like a CCA, CIA, CRMA, etc., it doesn't mean that you would get the job, but it significantly will showcase that you are reliable, as I said, that you're focused. And especially if you don't have the proven, like say, the job record or the project record, perhaps the certificates would be a good starting point. But here I would like to warn you, because don't take the certificate for the sake of taking them or passing exam for the sake of passing them, unless you have free time and spare money. It's up to you, but does not put a lot of, let's say, hope into the certificates. Of course, with my list of the certificates, that was very well received by my managers, by Deloitte. So they really appreciated the way I framed my academical background, my professional portfolio. So just think about this as an additional asset, but not a preposition, value-driven thing. Then, from the perspective of English, if it is your mother tongue, then you are lucky, of course. But if it's not, then like in my case, of course, you need to make sure that your English is not just the everyday English, not just the speaking English. It should be corporate English. And I'm not encouraging you to use this fancy words and try to find the best corporate dictionary. But in order to sound natural, and especially with the clients, because are going to be engaged with many clients and also to talk to the partners and many different stakeholders in-house and outside, you need to feel comfortable to express yourself. So, and also using the correct and corporate language. So I would encourage you, as I did, to read more business books and to watch more, let's say, business oriented, maybe series in Netflix or elsewhere. Practically, I was watching, for instance, one of those, it was Suits, even though there are a lot of non corporate words, but it's somehow shaping your and organizing your lingua in a different manner. Then what I also would like to point it out, and especially for those who already have an experience, and not only in the audit and in the consulting, but in the industry, in the, let's say, real business, as we like to tease our colleagues from consulting, from the audit, that they are not the real professionals. It's kind of theory. Of course, consulting is a lot about the theory, and it is sometimes it's very difficult to get into this world, because coming from the industry, you are very well equipped and you know how to apply, how to implement, how to get things done, how to, to start. Whereas for the consulting, it's a slide deck. Basically, I don't want to underestimate the effort, but all in all, it's a slide deck, it's a statement, it's an idea, and unless you are being hired as a consultant to implement, but still it is the responsibility of the business. So when you're coming from that background, it's very important that you are positioning this background as a business background, implementation background, applicable background, not as a, let's say, the only asset you have, but a very, very valuable asset, because still you need to know how to consult, how to sell the consulting, how to do these things. That's for me was a trap, because I was thinking, oh my God, I have 10 plus years of experience in industry. I know everything. I was working for the first, second lines, the third line. So I know what to do. I know how to talk. I'm so diverse. But you need to still remember that you are coming to into the different world, and it's a different leagues. Treat it as an asset, but don't try to replace it. I hope you understand what I mean. There are a lot of pros and cons in the consulting. As I said already, that consulting by itself, by design, does not give you this implementation skill set, and that's at the same time is a pros and cons, because if you are like a handy guy, like a hands-off guy like myself, you want to hit the ground running. So, but for the consulting, you also need to sell a little bit. So think about that to find this good balance. And if you haven't had any prior, let's say, business background experience, you also need to think about how to breach that and make your to consulting background a little bit more applicable, what you can showcase, because especially now the clients are getting more concerned about the consulting. They're just like showing the presentation, and with AI you can get a lot of information already using just a chatbot, and you don't need to be super like a McKinsey style specialist to get some good ideas and brainstorm. I'm not saying that it's a fully replacing, but it is shaking that world. So that's why I try to bridge that, try to balance that. I was already touched upon my diverse profile and my diverse experience. This is a very good asset, and I consider it as an asset. And again, there is like a two sides of the coin, because diverse profile will give you a lot of leverage, and you can participate in many different projects when you are in Big Four in a consulting firm, because then you can cover a lot of different areas, and you are very valuable part of the team. Sometimes you are really not like kind of irreplaceable. which is good in one sense, and another sense it's not. And why I'm saying there are like a pros and cons, because you would be treated as a really super diverse background, and I'm talking from my very painful experience. But then you would not be put into this career ladder where you are. Are you doing the audit? Are you managing the risks? What is your like a to go like a function? What is your to go capabilities? That's very important to remember. But all in all, that's I consider as an asset on as an entry point. But then you need to evolve and consider, okay, where I am the best fit. In any case, I can work here, I can do consulting there. But as you grow in upper, hopefully in that career ladder, you need to remember that you need to position yourself like a person to go at some point. Network is super crucial for getting any job, and especially a job in the Big Four, because the Big Four world is super small. To be honest, sometimes I'm so amazed how small it is. Everyone, and and it gives you a lot of networking. But in order to get into that Big Four network, you still need to utilize and use your current network. So try to ask friends of your friends who were working or had been working or working at the moment, or maybe their like spouse, friends, ex-colleagues, colleagues, ex-boyfriends, boyfriends, like working somehow, so you can somehow connect the dots. And don't and just I would like to flag it that it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to know that person very, very much, and then you need to work with this person, that the person needs to give you a letter of reference. But it is about that you have someone to tell you, at least to brief you about the person, what is this hiring manager is about. It's not that the person will go and speak up for you, but at least will give you some insights, right? That's very important to remember. But if you are lucky enough, if you have someone in the network who can actually recommend you, don't be shy to ask, even though you didn't work with this person, but person knows you, for instance, somehow, or your friend knows you, or you work with your friend, or the friend of this friend who works in the Big Four can somehow connect. So you can ask for this middleman. So don't be shy about this. To be honest, that's very much important. Communication skills. So I would not say something completely extraordinary. It's very important, communication skills, because as we like to say back when I was working for consulting, that the consulting firms, they don't produce anything. So they do have people, and they are consultants, that they are goods, let's say, that they're selling this as a goods, their capabilities and their communication skills. And of course, it's very much important how you engage, and especially if you want to have more chargeable hours. That's now not another forbidden word in the consulting world, right? So we were always seeking for this chargeable hours. So if you want to be connected, stay connected with your client, and sometimes even the clients, they're hiring those good professionals, which is also a good opportunity. I'm not saying this should be your only goal, because that's very, very visible. If someone is fishing for the job among the network, among the clients. So try to be balanced on that, but it's very important. And of course, in this regard, try to not only to have the communication skills, but also build up the network. If you are part, or if you establish some of the professional communities, that also would be very, very good. And also referring to the previous point, use your professional communities also to ask. It doesn't need to be the people that you practically know. I remember that I was connected with the people with whom I just connected via Instagram or LinkedIn or any other social network. So don't be shy. And if you have that participation, or you're framing, or you're a leader of this networking communities or professional communities, you also can leverage it and also position it as an asset, to be honest. Agility and open-mindedness, it's very much important because it is the hierarchical world. It is the partner-based setup, which is a long stand and very, very, let's say, ancient ways of working, but still we need to respect that hierarchy, and it's very much important that you will be very much flexible, that you would have couple of the managers and sometimes so many managers, especially if you have the project manager, like one partner, you can have three partners because you are managing three different projects. So you need to kind of shuffle that clearly and have a good connect with everyone. That's I'm talking about when you're already working, right? But you also, while you are going to be recruited or you are on a recruitment phase, you need to show up your agility and your flexibility, that you're flexible. You can be still firm as a professional, but the flexibility and agility, trust me, is very much important there. And lastly, but not least, I want to point it out that you need to showcase your experience. So, because it's a project based work, just to remember, if you, especially if you don't have the previous work record, I would suggest that you will showcase some of the projects that you have been working, for instance, even at university, or maybe in some of the your internship, or maybe you've been intern or student helper. So you need to showcase those very practical, not try to just chat GPT that and just show that, okay, I did this and that, which would sound super artificial. Try to showcase the real work that you have done, and especially if you can really showcase it, that will be very, very good work. And of course, you need to have a good this elevator pitch, right? It's also not something eye-opening thing. And of course, as now they what is called like one pager profile or your portfolio, where you also can list all your projects and maybe industries, the different industry where you had been working or having an internship or student help, etc., etc. So try to utilize all the experience that you have, put them as assets, and yeah, I would like to conclude that's hopefully very interesting topic with that all in all, I'm sitting here as already independent consultant, and you would ask me why I have left audit. So practically, it's because of I am too practical for the consulting world, even though I am super appreciative for this line in my CV and the experience that I get from Big Four. And I'm very honest and I'm very grateful for that. I got a big network. That's also a very big asset for me. But all in all, I think combining my business background plus very practical, this leverage, plus this theoretical consulting background, so that's lead me to the independent consultancy. So maybe that's also would be your future. So let's keep in touch, and I hope you like that video. So show me your love and give me some hearts and likes and some comments. See you around.